Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Vancouver-based Globe and Mail restaurant critic Alexandra Gill. If you missed the first half last week, you might want to check it out first. And if you've been waiting anxiously for the second half, we're picking up right where we left off with what might be my favorite question of our chat, especially if you love, or once loved, reading restaurant reviews. Can anybody write a negative review for the next 6 months as a food critic?
I think I'm going to, well, you can, there's lots of things you can evaluate. And I don't think I would be writing negatively about food, about the food offerings. But I'm quite, you're not, I've avoided that so far.
I mean, who wants to say a mean thing to any restaurant right now?
But I did go to some of the restaurants at the very beginning who started doing takeout, and the setups didn't seem safe to me. They were really troublesome. And I didn't write about it. I just refrained from writing about it because I'm not going to kick anybody when they're down.
Yeah.
But now there are guidelines in place, and things haven't returned to normal, but things are returning to a new normal, and lots of restaurants are opening up. But there are rules to follow, and some of them are not actually very explicit. In BC, there's a lot of a lot of the guidelines are open to interpretation. Some restaurants are managing to socially distance within the kitchens. Others are jamming in 12 people and just making them sign contracts and saying you won't go out, to see, you won't break your bubble at home. Yeah. Well, we know that's not sustainable in the long run. So what's going to happen? So I am not going to, I've been supportive in my way by not criticizing takeout, but writing about the news, which I think is very valid and very important, and people are curious around the world how different regions are dealing with it. But if there's been a breakout in a kitchen here at a fast food restaurant. It wasn't named by the government, but they had 5 people in a kitchen that weren't socially distancing, and somebody came to work who was feeling a little unwell but not sick yet, and passed it to all 5 people in the kitchen. So, we have to start looking at this critically. I mean, maybe the rules have to be toughened up a bit. Maybe they need to be tightened, because there will be outbreaks in restaurants. And if there are too many, no one's going to go to a restaurant again. So you ruin it for everybody else. Yeah. There are people who are going to defy the rules, who aren't going to follow the guidelines. And I have no problem criticizing health safety guidelines or safety measurements. I think that's the way I'll approach it, is as a critic, there's lots of room to applaud innovation, to applaud creativity, but to criticize and call out the people who aren't adhering but to the safety measures and are ruining it for everybody else. And I don't relish that opportunity, but there's a role to play.
Yeah. It's like you said, there are so many stories to tell. There are so many good stories to tell, but there are very important elements to your job too.
And I'm as a critic, I'm a journalist first and foremost, and I'm reporting on the news, and that it'll evolve. What I do is as different as the restaurants are, but there are things to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. Well, are you ready for, it's not even a lightning round, but a quick set of more fun questions? Although I did actually want to ask you if you think the government is doing enough. Maybe we'll have a quick sip of wine, and then we can talk government, and then we can talk fun restaurant stuff. Okay. So do you think that, the CERB and the government and the subsidies that are offered to restaurants and loans, have they done enough?
Yeah, I think the government's, every jurisdiction is different. It's different from province to province. It's different from city to city. I know in Vancouver, the provincial government has been amazing, and they got takeout liquor right away, wholesale pricing for alcohol. I mean, they expedited the liquor expansions for the temporary patios very fast. The city took a little while to get them into gear, but they're moving quicker than they've ever. The city has ever moved.
Well, it's smart. It's in their own best interest. They're the one who gets tax revenue from that.
I mean, they can't afford to have all these small businesses failing. They have to get them back up and running. So, they've moved things along pretty quickly. I mean, could they be doing more? Yeah, the Parks Board could be a little bit more. I mean, there are different areas that aren't really helpful. The Parks Board has said, yeah, no liquor allowed, and they're making it difficult for the restaurants in there. And but at least it's open. The parks are
Yeah,
open. They're
it's
not closed,
true.
and the restaurants are open. I mean, the federal government. I mean, the federal government needs to, I mean, the restaurant industry absolutely needs some help with rent relief. And the government knows that, because the landlords across the country are like, abdicating their responsibility to negotiate better rental deals. Nobody's doing that. So that was a failure. But the government moved on a lot of different fronts really fast. So I think we're in a lot better situation than the United States is. The governments at all level have been very supportive.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't been, well, except from Montreal. I really feel for Montreal and Toronto, because the numbers are going up. But it's, just as the numbers are different across the country, so are the relief measures.
Yeah. Well, this podcast will come out next week, but today, on the recording day, was the first day we had no deaths.
Oh, wow.
And that is such a horrible thing to be excited about. Yeah. In Montreal. But yes, it's a very exciting thing.
Good. In the right direction. Yeah.
In the right direction. And on that positive note, maybe we can talk fun food things now. So I want to know right away, what was the first restaurant you went? You said you went to Nook right away. What was the first fancy place you went? Was it St. Lawrence?
I went to 11. I guess, yeah. St. Lawrence was the first fancy place. Yeah, for sure.
Where else have you been?
I went to Joey's and Cactus Club, because I wanted to see what the chains were doing, and a place called the Beach House, which is owned by Earls.
Okay. Are they at full capacity? Or are they are they doing okay?
Cactus Club had a lineup. The Beach House had a beautiful view, which I really enjoyed. Great wine list. Joey's was Joey's. It was okay. The food's the best food of the chain. I had a decent Cobb salad. Okay. But you know what? I've decided personally, I'm not going to I go out when I'm not working too. And I don't think I want to go to the chains right now.
It's more out of curiosity.
Yeah, I went out of curiosity, and I don't think they're necessarily any safer than any of the independent restaurants. People, have this sense of security when they go to something they know. Yeah. But I mean, each location is different, and the food's not good enough.
If you're gonna go out, if you're gonna,
go somewhere that you love and you want that food, and maybe it's not something you can make at home, or it's a small place that you don't know that they're going to survive. You have to pick and choose a lot more judiciously now. Yeah. And I'm just not, I went because I was curious. This won't make me happy, the chains won't be happy to hear it, but I'm not going to any chain restaurants for the rest of the summer, as long as this lasts.
I'm sure lots of other people will, because they get some kind of comfort out of it. They get a certain experience that they want. And there are excellent chains that provide that kind of home feeling for a lot of people. And then there are people that really love fine dining, exciting. I've never eaten this before. I've never had this flavor. I've never had this taste. I've never had this wine. And I get that too. And that's not for everybody either. Maybe it's also not affordable, and maybe will be even less affordable in the future, because prices will probably go up.
It's going to go up. Your disposable income is going down.
Yeah.
But elbow space has improved in restaurants.
And that is great news. Maybe I should have had that as a lightning round question. Highlight of COVID, elbow space. And so you're probably eating out a lot, but are you cooking a lot yourself?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah.
What was the highlight of your COVID cooking?
I started out really ambitious, and I made my own Panang Curry out of a local restaurant, Angus Ann, at the main cookbook. And I actually learned how to crack my coconut milk for the first time. I'd never known that. I made I made tamarind water and everything. It was so ambitious. And then I said, oh, no. I thought that would be my goal. And it took me 2 days to make this curry. And I said, this is why I go to restaurants, because you can buy it. And it tastes delicious.
So I do the half-assed version of that. I will buy the canned coconut, because I do not have a machete that I'm going to be hacking open a coconut. And we can usually only get frozen coconut in most places here. So then you have to let it thaw, and then it really is 2 days. But there is a very simple blender curry There's a cookbook called Good Fish by Becky Selengut, who's based in Seattle, and it's all sustainable seafood. And you just chuck everything in the blender: a green curry, halibut, beautiful.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the great thing is that all these restaurants now, Mainum and all sorts of restaurants are doing frozen vacuum packed
There
dinners.
you go. Yeah.
And so it's so easy to get some really great restaurant food at home.
Mm-hmm.
I cooked a few big dinners. I cooked beef bourguignon a lot because I had a lot of meat in my steak,
Did you
right?
peel all of the shallots yourself?
No,
Okay.
I didn't do it. I did a modified version, and
Okay.
so I didn't do the tiny little ones, but I didn't do the onion. You mean
Oh, the pearl
pearl
onions. Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
I didn't do it with pearl onions. I just did shallots. Yeah.
Okay.
So I always, I do my own shortcuts all the time. But
Essential for sanity if you're going to be cooking at home every day.
yeah, and I was working a lot, so it's not like I didn't have time to make sourdough. Yeah, I forget it. So I really enjoyed some of these partially cooked restaurant meals. I really had a freezer full of those, but I got a lot of frozen fish, and yeah, a lot of. I ate a lot of salad greens.
Yeah.
Because the growing season starts so early here. So I was beautiful asparagus, beautiful
Mm.
salad greens with just some, ocean wise, beautiful. It was a buttery sockeye salmon that I got, and sockeye is
Oof.
usually pretty
Yeah.
lean, but this sockeye was a gorgeous and so rich, and I was just
Wow.
like, and I called the fisherman up. I'm like, what was up with that salmon? And he said, oh yeah, that's the stuff we get up at, way up in Prince Rupert. That's the cream of that's the premium that usually only goes to restaurants, and
Okay.
that's what I was getting at home. So
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So the fattier sockeye, that would make sense. So it would go to the restaurants. Yeah. I'm more used to coho. We can get some BC coho
yeah,
here, and that has beautiful fat on it and great flavor. But the sockeye it's usually really lean. So that's interesting.
it
Got to
was
go to Prince Rupert.
fascinating. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, I was eating a lot of the weirdest thing was that I gained 10 pounds. I thought, oh, this is gonna be great. I don't have to go to restaurants. I get a reprieve. I'm gonna get into shape. I'm gonna lose that 10 pounds I've been wanting to lose. And then I gained 10 pounds.
Yeah.
I think because I just stopped exercising. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was actually a common refrain for people who know how to cook already.
Yeah.
Maybe people who often go to restaurants, all of a sudden their sodium goes way down. There, you know,
Yeah.
all these potential disease factors go way down. But yeah, for the rest of us that know how to cook,
Lots of salt. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, ooh, what am I going to make today with all of these wonderful things that I can get from restaurants who aren't getting them? Speaking of that, actually, so is beef bourguignon your comfort food, or do you have another comfort food?
No, I guess my mother's Italian. I make a lot of pasta,
Yeah.
but yeah, but no more for the summer.
Not even a
No carb
beautiful
off
light
summer, but
little,
restaurants, yeah.
no
Uh,
pesto, nothing like that for you?
well, it'll be hard. Yeah, my
Yeah. How
my
can you
boyfriend
resist?
and he's French, and I said I'm not eating bread for the next month at
Oh
home, and
gosh.
he's like, it was like I just cut off, one of his fingers. I said, you can eat it, but I'm not eating it.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Um, what is the best meal then you've eaten since quarantine started?
Oh, it was my birthday meal.
Mm.
And nothing was really open. It was really slow, and I wasn't. It was April 9th, so it was really early into things, and I wasn't really trusting takeout that much at the time. So one of my favorite chefs is Pino Pastorero from Chipino's, and he was cooking at home, and he was like home cooking this. He was like posting all these pictures of the food he was making at home, and it was very different than what he does at restaurants, but it was
Oh.
delicious. I said, please will you cook me? And I said, I'll
Oh.
pay you. Just like can I share your home meal? You make a portion for me, and that I can just take home and pick up and take home. So
What
he
did
did
he
it.
make?
He made a feast, but it was like chickpea salad and some sable fish that he barbecued, and a beautiful lasagna, and there was some octopus as well. Like he made me like a 5-course feast,
Oh,
but it was home
wow.
style cooking. His home style cooking.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's beautiful. Would your mother approve? Would your nonna approve?
Yes. I didn't know my nonna, but my mom definitely did.
Okay, good. Um, eh, as a restaurant critic, I have to ask you this. What's the best meal you've ever had in a restaurant?
Oh, the best, well, memorable or best?
Ooh, both. Let's do 2 questions. Let's split it up.
It was probably on the same trip. I was doing a round trip of Michelin starred restaurants with Melissa Craig, who's the chef at the Barefoot Bistro in Whistler.
Right.
And I wrote about it for En Route.
Oh,
and yeah, and this was just after she won the gold medal plates, when it was still called gold medal plates. And so we just decided to go on this, like, she needed to do some research. So so did I. So we went to about, yes, 7 or 8 like 3 Michelin starred restaurants over 2 week period. Like,
oh
it
my
was
gosh.
like one after another. And we were in England, Spain, and France. So we went to, probably the most memorable was at number one in the world forever in
Noma or in Copenhagen, or no, you were
in Spain.
In Spain. Oh, now I'm blanking on it too. Oh my God. El Bulli. Thank you. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Ran Adria. There we go. I was thinking the chef. Yeah.
And that was the most memorable because it was, it was high arts. I mean, it was theater. It was like the 36 course meal, one thing at a time. But I have to tell you, it wasn't delicious. It wasn't delicious at all. It was making people's stomachs turn. And I mean, maybe it was because we had been staying on a yacht and drinking too much and all those things. But at the end of the reign, they just had to keep pushing buttons, and they had to go more extreme and more extreme and more extreme. And so every piece was bizarre and weird, and it wasn't necessarily delicious. And over the course of tasting, menus should take you on a pleasant journey. There's a crescendo to the meal, but this was like a roller coaster, up, down, acidic, spicy, umami, really extreme. And everybody's stomach was actually doing stomach bug. And a couple people, one person threw up, another person had to go to the washroom, was sick.
Oh my gosh.
And
wow.
I mean, that was how extreme it was. And you'd be eating something and you had no idea what you were eating. And that was part of what the theater was. And I kind of it was, I compare it to haute couture, because I mean, you see some of those runway fashions and you think, oh God, I'm never going to like wear that. It's just too extreme and too bizarre. But that is where the trends start. So maybe, I mean, one dish was like a chocolate. It was like a chocolate truffle. It looked like a brown chocolate truffle. And then you bit into it, and it was very, very intense truffle mushroom. And so, it freaked your palate up, because you freaked you out because you're expecting something sweet, and then you taste this very earthy liquid. And so people, we had no idea what we were eating until you bite it. And so some people, even though they're experienced eaters, were like sick from it. So,
right. So you didn't get any warning that was going to be a bitter mushroom liquid filling.
It's not explained by the waiter. It wasn't explained by on the menu. So it was memorable for sure, but not necessarily delicious.
Okay.
And Ferran has said, we had to keep pushing it harder. It got harder for them, and they couldn't sustain that anymore because they had to have a new menu all the time, and you can only freak out your customers so much, right? So, but on the same trip, we went to the Alain Decast restaurant in Monaco.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And it was just so classic, and it was so beautiful. And you remember, I remember we were oohing and eyeing over a plain risotto, but it had, the best Iberico pork, and it had, the beautiful rice. Everything was classic, and it could have been deconstructed into a foam of this Parmesan, or a crunch of Iberico, but it was just done so well and so classically that, I mean, maybe after a lot of extreme food in the Michelin star restaurant, it was nice to just have something done perfectly. And classically. Yeah.
That's how I think about a lot of restaurant going and a lot of restaurant eating, is that you get kind of velocitized by restaurants. You get habituated to fine dining. You get habituated to novelty. And so I always think it's really interesting what a restaurant critic likes. Like, do they just want that salad that's so simple with like a very basic vinaigrette, or a Caesar salad, or a Cobb salad, or whatever your salad is? Or do you love that beautiful bowl of pasta? Or do you love that experience all the time, and does it change?
Well, it's funny. I forgot to tell you that I went for dim sum, and that was probably my best experience. I went
Ooh,
to an excellent dim sum restaurant at the first week things started opening, and that is food that I can't make at home. I can't
yeah.
get the wakai, the breath of the wok.
Mm,
I can't. I don't have that kind of
yeah.
oven or that kind of setup at home, and nobody can. You
Mm,
can. Those are professional ovens that you need to get the fried noodles, just beautifully seared and still steaming, and with that, the
yeah.
beautiful, you know, sizzled aroma, and and the beautiful dumplings with everything in them. I mean, and that,
Gosh.
yeah, I was moaning out loud. It was so delicious, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I haven't tasted anything like this in months, and I couldn't do something like that at home. So yeah,
Mm,
I still, there's so much the restaurant experience. Of course, yeah. I mean, that's what I miss most.
yeah.
Is
And
those
all ranges of it. Then I mean, it was Dynasty. Was that the dim sum
dynasty.
place?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
nice article that you wrote there.
Mhm.
Yeah, reading that, obviously, that's all of that variety that you get at that kind of meal. But it's not. It's not. It's not El Bulli. It's not. Three Michelin star. Although there is Michelin star dim sum.
Yeah.
Um, but for you, does it matter if it's three Michelin star or casual?
No, no. I mean, some of my best meals have been on little holes in the walls, and I
Mm,
think as a restaurant critic, you have to judge everything in its own context. And for sure, I mean, you can get three-star experiences at a humble mom and pop
yeah, that's true.
place, and I have had that.
Mm,
You might have like the best, noodles. Then you might have the best dim sum. You might have, I've had wonderful, it goes on and on and on. Yeah, but everything's you have to appreciate everything for what it is.
yeah.
Yeah,
When you mentioned the truffle example before, messing with the sweet or savory, are you a sweet or salty person?
salty.
Salty. So all salt. You're not a dessert person, or are you just more of a salt person than a sweet?
No, I'm not really a dessert person. I've often said that I should take some pastry classes just to gain a better appreciation for pastry. Yeah,
Yeah.
the final course. I mean, I could most of the time skip it, but yeah, just because my palate doesn't lean that way, but I do appreciate it. Yeah.
Good to know. What food do you hate? What does your palate really not like?
Truffle oil.
Me too. I can't stand it.
I
Most
cannot
people love it.
stick. It's obnoxious. Like
Yeah.
I mean that will ruin a dish for me.
Even just a little bit of freshly
And
shaved, not the
no,
oil.
some truffle oils that if they're infused themselves, fused in the
Very
restaurant,
light, very
fresh,
gentle.
very light. I don't mind that so
Yeah.
much. But the stuff made in China from synthetic truffle,
That
basically,
bombastic
and,
funkiness. Oh
and most of
gosh.
the time the oil is rancid, and people,
Yeah.
and then the chefs just pour it over everything. And I'm like,
And then they charge you $20 extra for it because it's the
yeah.
fancy
No, I mean,
truffle
I
oil.
love
No.
truffles, but the truffle oil I find, to me, it signals cheap. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Trying to be
like a
fancy.
shorthand for luxury, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Is that then the dish that you hate seeing on menus? Like a risotto with a truffle oil or a
Yeah,
pasta with? Yeah.
yeah. I won't order. Yeah, and once in a while I'll order. Just think, oh my god, that's why I don't order. Yeah, no.
Are there other foods that you hate equally or almost as much?
No, I mean it's hard. You can't really dislike anything. I mean, I don't really love eating duck tongues, but I cover a lot of Chinese restaurants, or I actually have acquired a taste for jellyfish. There's certain things that are culturally, you're not as familiar with, but as a critic who writes a lot about Chinese restaurants, I've developed, acquired a palate for some of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
that things that I didn't think at the beginning I would love.
Do you have a favorite, I guess, kind of weird dish? Like jellyfish, you said?
Yeah, I love jellyfish, but it's
Not that that's weird, but I mean more exotic,
yeah,
I should say, or less common.
less common dishes that I crave. Tripe can be really good.
Oh, agreed. If you come back
Yeah.
to Montreal, Nora Gray, best tripe I've ever had.
Oh, really? Yeah,
So
yeah,
good.
yeah. So
Although you'll want to eat all the pasta because it's fabulous. And they'll make it, so they'll be around. I'm quite sure. And then eat in or take out for you right now? I know it's a very loaded question, but.
Well, right now I'm eating in as much as I can to see what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Just because.
you know what, takeout doesn't travel that well.
That's
So
true.
I think people are actually, the menus are have changed a lot just in a couple of months. People are pivoting, changing their menus to make it more delivery stable.
Yeah, because how many soggy French fries do you really want to eat?
Well, they're actually changing the whole recipe for French fries, right? Everything's now coated in this. When you get this
The
texture,
crunch. Yeah.
it's because that keeps it when it steams, like the moisture comes from the outside, so that keeps all the steam inside, so they don't wilt as much.
That makes sense. Modernist Cuisine Test Kitchen in Bellevue, Washington. They will sous vide the potatoes and then, what is it? There's something that drags the starch out to create its own coating for the fries. So essentially it's like coating it. You could coat it in flour, you could coat it in whatever to do that, the work of starch to absorb that liquid and keep it crunchy. But they use a ridiculous process to do it. But I understand the concept, because when you have those fries that do travel well and you're just like, this is not natural. I get it.
Yeah. What is this bathed in?
Yeah. How many times have I written a recipe for sweet potato fries and somebody's like, but it's not crunchy. It's like, yeah, there's a reason. I didn't add a ton of things to the outside to make it a little faker, but delicious. Okay. And so I just wanted to ask you one more question. In 1 year from now, what's the Vancouver restaurant that you'll think is going to do the best?
A year from now?
Yeah.
Oh, lots of them do well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's hard to say. That's like looking into, I don't have a crystal ball.
That's fair. Where should people in Vancouver go right now?
Whatever restaurant they love the most. Go to your local restaurant and support it, because they'll need every ounce of support. And not all of them are going to survive. I mean, I do agree that maybe 50% will fail. So if you have one that you love and you want to see it next year, go there now, buy their gift certificates, get takeout, send your friends there, because I mean, it comes down to that type of, that level of support right now.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I've taken way too much of your time. I'm sorry.
No,
I just get so excited talking about, Michelin star experiences all over the world. It sounds so crazy to me right now to think that we get to do that again.
Do that again?
Yeah, that'd be great. I hope you get sent on another en route trip. Who knows?
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Senka Said podcast. I'm going to have all the contacts for everywhere Alex and I mentioned on the show notes for this episode, wherever you got this podcast, whether that's the video version on iTunes or Vimeo, or the audio version on Spotify or Stitcher. You can find both on my blog, multiculturosity.com, and I'll have another episode for you next week. And if you want to sponsor this podcast, we are now looking for sponsors. You can contact me through my website, multiculturosity.com. You can also find my email address all over the internet. Don't tell my mother that. It's Amie Watson, AMIE WATSON. I'm also on social media at Miss Watson, MISSWATTSON, so you can hear every time one of these podcasts launches. Have a great week. Have a happy hour.